What is Lent? Should it hurt? Do you need to have a plan? So I remember one Lent, and this is going to date me pretty badly. I was a teenager. I was attached at the hip, literally, to this Walkman. It had a cassette player and radio, and little headphones. And I listened to it like all the time. If I read tons when I was younger, but when I wasn't reading, I was listening to the Walkman. And one Lent, I decided just to give it up completely, and I did. And it was one of the best Lents that I ever had. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, the word Lent comes from an Old English word that means spring, and Lent is a season of prayer and penance before Easter. Its purpose is to better prepare the faithful for the feast of the resurrection. Besides fast and abstinence on specified days, the whole Lenten season is to be penitential, with stress on prayer, reception of the sacraments, almsgiving, and the practice of charity. So what are the hard and fast rules of Lent? So all Catholics ages 18 to 59 are required to fast on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. So what does that mean? That means that you can have two small meals that together do not add up to one full meal plus one full meal that day. So that's what fasting is. And there's no snacking in between meals. Now, there's the abstinence piece as well, which means no meat. And you can have seafood, you can have fish, just no meat. And that is required for all Catholics ages 14 and up. And that's for Ash Wednesday and all Fridays of Lent. So that's the letter of the law. The spirit of the law, the Church encourages us to engage in fasting of our own accord, prayer, and almsgiving. Now, prayer is, of course, everybody knows what prayer is. It's connecting our souls to God, being mindful of His presence, saying, a rote prayer or an off-the-cuff prayer. There's mental prayer, there's oral prayer. It's pretty broad. Prayer is the lifeblood of the soul. It's very necessary. It's necessary if you want any sort of relationship with God. The almsgiving piece, obviously giving of your money or any sort of material wealth to the poor or to your church or community. You can also volunteer your time. You give the alms of your time to a volunteer effort or to your neighbor. Fasting traditionally means fasting from food, but you can also fast from bad habits. For instance, that four-letter word that you use when you stub your toe, you could not say that, fast from that bad habit. Now, we've all done Lents, or at least I have, where we're just mildly uncomfortable. Maybe on Wednesdays and Fridays, I'll listen to 2 podcasts instead of 3. I'll just dip my toe in the penance water just to get it a little damp, just to say that I've done it. Now, any penance is better than none. Now, don't get me wrong on that score. St. Therese said that even if you pick up a pin out of love for God, that could save a soul. So we should definitely be offering up all the little things. I'm not trying to say, only the big penances count, because they don't. But I really want to encourage us to make it hurt a little bit this Lent. Let's make it hurt a little bit. I remember one Lent, I gave up watching TV in the evenings and replaced it with reading a book. So I would get my rocker, pull it up to the wood stove, and read a book in front of the fire. And I quickly began to enjoy that. It was nice. I loved it. I like reading anyway. Does that mean that didn't count? Well, no, because there was a sacrificial aspect to it to begin with. So I was able to offer that up. And then when that wholesome habit became a joy, you can also offer that joy up. That counts too. Replacing a not ideal habit or bad habit with a wholesome habit is absolutely something that we should be doing during Lent. But let's make it hurt a little bit this Lent too. Let's do the everyday hurt. I had a sister who gave up all snacking in between meals every day of Lent. She said it was hard, but she said she had a very spiritually joyful Easter. Another sister got up at 5 a.m. every morning before her kids. And she said it was very, very hard. And I really love my sleep. So that sounds like even harder than giving up, snacks in between meals. But she said she had a very spiritually productive Lent. And that sort of everyday hurt aspect, it's an everyday sacrifice, so you have that sacrificial quality to your day, every day of Lent. But also there's that purpose of mindfulness. If something's kind of constantly sort of making you uncomfortable or giving you that little hurt, it's calling to mind why you're doing this. Why are you doing this? Oh, I'm tired. I got up early this morning. Why? Well, because it's Lent, because Jesus suffered for me, and I can offer up this little bit of suffering for him. So there's kind of an all-inclusive aspect to penance. The mindfulness aspect and the physical aspect. So let's have a plan to keep us on track during Lent. He who does not have a plan will soon find out that his Lenten practices will peter out very quickly. This sort of amorphous plans that you make, like, oh yeah, I'm going to pray more, sure. And then you don't have a plan for it and it just goes by the wayside. So let's have a plan. So number 1, replace a bad or a not great habit with a good habit. Like I mentioned earlier, replacing screen time with a walk or reading a book. Those are wholesome, habits, especially if, the book is, something spiritual or religious in nature. Number 2, go to confession. Try to go to confession at least 3 times this Lent. Maybe shoot for the beginning of Lent, sort of the middle of Lent, and the end of Lent. So this has a purpose of not only being forgiven of your sins, but also the devil fears very few things more than a soul that has just gone to confession. Not only do you get your sins forgiven, but you get special graces to combat the sins that you've just confessed, to make sure that you don't commit them again. It's a strong spiritual medicine. Set aside some extra funds to give to charity or volunteer your time to do something nice for somebody else. It can give a little extra hurt if you have some fun money in your budget. You can give part of your fun money for that month to a local charity. And the more local, the better, I think, as far as charities go. It's just my opinion. Carve out time every day for some extra prayer. And this can feed into the replacing a bad habit aspect and, taking a walk instead. Or, if you take that walk, say a rosary while you're on that walk. So that can kind of double up there. Embrace a penance that's going to hurt every day. That everyday hurt that we talked about. And this one can also double up. Say you get up an extra 20 or 30 minutes in the morning. Well, you can use that extra 20 or 30 minutes for extra prayer time. There's this one little tip that's kind of helped me for my Lents. So you can go to Dollar Tree and get, just like a cheap little notebook or calendar. And for every day of Lent, pencil in a person or an intention to pray for and to offer sacrifices for. This helped keep me really focused because I didn't want to, whoever was, on that day, I didn't want to short them. I wanted to do my best to pray and make sacrifices for them. I didn't want to cut corners for them. And you can do a different person or a different intention every day. You can double up some days, have repeats. But I found that very helpful. Is there anything that you would like to see out of this channel to help you with your Lent? Would you like meditations on Christ's Passion, on Our Lady of Sorrows, more prayers, spiritual warfare prayers in Latin, or more sort of personal sharing, checking in, how's your Lent going? What can I do for you to help you with your Lent journey? Have a blessed Lent.